get back to the topic at hand, right? So some of the other limiting beliefs or the things that came up for you with like investing in real estate, but again, I don't necessarily know that you had, because from my perspective was that you were just on board. To be completely honest with you, like that's the reason that we've got as successful as we are, is because you were just on board. Anytime I have a crazy idea, I'm like, hey, let's take this money and let's go dump it into this, and it might cash flow a couple $100, but I think it has big potential. If we do this, this, and this, you've always just been very supportive, and like to me, that's been everything. That's been super grateful. But I'm sure there's been some thoughts, some things that happen. So please share those thoughts with me, because you've done a great job of always supporting me, truly, 100%. But I'm actually curious, like, what are some of the thoughts you've had?
So I think this brings up a very important point of trust in a relationship, as well as communication. So if you cannot trust the decisions that your spouse makes, like, what are you doing in your relationship?
Yeah.
Communication needs to be direct. It needs to be honest, and you need to be on the same team. You need to understand that, you know, because you are taking $60,000 out of our bank account, it doesn't mean that we're not both going to benefit. Like, we are a team. It is not like he does this and I do this. Like, we are in this together. We are in the thick of it together. And it was terrifying. Like, I had 1,000 limiting beliefs flood my head, but externally I had to show
what are some of those beliefs? Obviously, we talked about like being fearful of losing the money, but what else? What other limiting beliefs popped in?
Yeah, well, like, what if we weren't going to work out? What if our relationship was going to go south tomorrow? And your name is on it and mine isn't.
Yeah. What's
going to happen then?
Yeah.
What if I have to get it up in the middle of the night with a 2-week-old and go replace a toilet?
Yeah.
Honestly, what ifs flooded in and there was 1,000 of them? What if the renters didn't pay rent? What if the house burns down?
Yeah. And so let me ask you, did any of these what ifs happen?
No. Not a single one.
Yeah. And let me ask you this, like, in a fair question, knowing what you know now, like, what if these what ifs did happen?
Yeah, we figure them out. I mean, now that we've been in the game for long enough.
Who would take charge of figuring it out?
I would.
Yeah. Who else though?
You.
Yeah. Right. Because we're on the same team. We both want to figure this out. This wouldn't be like, oh, you know what? What if I had to get up 2 weeks with a 2-week-old and I had to go fix a toilet? Like, what if that actually happened? Do you think that the right way to approach that is to blame Logan? Because you know what? I was right, Logan. This did happen. This what if happened, and I told you it's going to happen. And you know what? It's happening. You think that's the right way to approach it?
No, that's not going to go over well.
Like, does that solve the situation?
No.
Right? And so, what if happened?
We'd figure it out together.
And would there be any like finger pointing, resistance, like, you know what? I know this was going to happen.
No.
And so I say that to illustrate a point that a lot of times people are not on the same team, right? So this trusting your partner thing is fundamental. It is the key to success in anything, whether it's investing in real estate, whether it's in business, whether it's just your relationship, whether it's parenting. If you do not have trust in that person, if you're not on the same team, those situations, they'll rear their head, and that's when the finger pointing gets going like this, right?
Resentment builds.
It's resentment because you're on the same team before you invest in real estate. So to answer that question, truly, like, before you invest in anything, before you do anything, you should like be on the same page with your spouse. Like, you need to air out all your dirty laundry. Tell them all the things that you despise about them, that upset you, right? Like, say it, because after you say it, it sounds really silly.
It's so silly.
It's so silly.
So one little thing, like, this is real life, right? So we talk about everything.
Look how good my biceps look here.
There are.
Do you see that?
Yeah. There are things that drive me nuts that Logan does, and in order for me to communicate them, was really hard. So one thing that he does that drives me nuts is he wouldn't trim his fingernails enough. And he would sit here and like.
Look at him now, though.
Do this.
Look at him now.
But when you communicate them, it sounds silly. And then he can choose to either trim his fingernails more frequently, or I can just not be triggered by it because I've said my piece.
And what has happened?
They're trimmed.
Yeah. And I like it. Enjoy it.
Just an example.
It's a great point. Everything, like anything, like all the pet peeves, all the issues, like you say them out loud, you're able to address them, and you do it in a way that it's not like you need to change, otherwise I'm not gonna be happy with you. Like, it wasn't an ultimatum like, Logan, trim your fingernails, otherwise I'm not gonna like you. Just like, Logan, honestly, my preference is that you trim your fingernails. Either way, I still love you. But I just want to let you know my preference. Like, a much different way to approach a situation than, dude, or like backhanded comments. Like, I'll catch Katie making some backhanded comments, and I'll call her out. I'm like, dude, like, do you think that helps? Like just like say what you just said in a way that's approachable, rather than like, bro, like, cut your freaking fingernails, dude. Like, or like, maybe if you cut your fingernails, then maybe you're gonna scratch your face. You know, like things like that. Like, those are the type of backhand comments that if you let that communication go without being addressed, without like confronting it, that's when you have these big blowups, and all of a sudden you can't invest in freaking real estate because you don't cut your freaking fingernails.
Wow.
Boom. Let's go.
So if you want to invest in real estate, have your partner trim their fingernails.
If you guys didn't get anything other than that from this video today, then that's your fault. Okay, trim your fingernails. So it definitely goes back to trust, right? Trust on everything, being on the same page. Like, that's how we've been able to grow as fast as we have, and we will continue to grow, is that we stay on the same page. We still have conversations. We still making sure that that's why we do our weekly meetings. Kate talked about a little bit about doing weekly expenses. We also have, like, with that same meeting, we have a marriage meeting that goes right behind that, where we rate ourselves based on like how you did as a wife, how I did as a husband, how we did as parents, how we did in business, how we showed up. Like, we have certain values that we share, and then we hold ourselves accountable to those values.
And I actually think that the marriage meeting that we hold every single week, and we can call each other out on things, is the most important meeting. Finances is second. The first is actually making sure that how we serve each other is how we need to be served. So for the first year of us doing our marriage meeting, thank you, Alex and Layla, for recommending us to do a marriage meeting. But for the first year, I bawled every single time. It was really hard to hear, hey, you're coming up short in this area, and this area, and this area. Like, you need to step your game up. It sucked. It sucked really bad. Like, I felt like an anchor to our success and everything, because I had to grow. Now, today, fast forward, how many years have we been doing it?
3
or 4, yeah. And fast forward to today, I look forward to them, because I'm like, how can I improve? How can I do better? How can I serve you better? And it makes a huge difference. Like, being able, it also opens lines of communication. So when you know that you're going to have a meeting, you can wait to bring up touchy subjects until the meeting. And then you get so comfortable with each other that you're like, you can have a one-off conversation, a one-off marriage meeting in the middle of a debate, and come to a resolution in the heat of the moment.
It helps create a system to allow you in the beginning, especially if you're not good at communicating. So a lot of people out there probably aren't very good at communicating with their spouses.
You aren't very good at communicating.
Yeah, I know you're not very good. If you're watching this, you're not good at communicating. I promise you. I know it. 100% chance. Okay. And so what the weekly marriage meeting does is it gives you an opportunity for you and your spouse to have this safe place to do a reset, to say all the crap that you've wanted to say to them for, maybe it's been months, maybe it's been years, maybe it's been over a decade, who knows, right? It gives you the safe opportunity to say what you're actually feeling. You say what needs to be said, right? This is part of our core values, is communication is the compass, where we're like, it's just like, we have the right to say what needs to be said in a way that is helpful, in a way that serves us, not in a way of like,
don't just be a dick to be a dick.
Yeah, don't just be a dick, right? But it gives you this structure behind that. And what are some of the, this is great, Katie, what are some of the objections that when we tell people about this marriage meeting that they have?
Time. We don't have time.
What about people who are not in business? Like, what are some of the things that they say? Because obviously, like, we're in business, so it makes sense to have meetings, right? It's like structured communication cycles. It makes sense. We understand the consistency is important. But people who are not in business, what are some of their limiting beliefs around having a marriage meeting?
It's not natural. It's not, what's the word I'm looking for?
They don't want to treat their marriage like a business.
I'll never forget. This is hilarious. So Logan is doing sales, and he's like
tangent.
Yeah, he's like a sales fanatic, right? Like, he's really good at doing sales. And somebody made a comment that, like, I don't even remember. He sold me. He literally sold me every single day on being his spouse. To this day, he sells me every single day. on being a spouse. It is business.
She did not like that when I told her that. She
No,
needed
I
to sell
hated
me.
it. I was like, ooh, I'm not.
You need to sell
buying
me.
your shit.
Yeah. And so
No, that was it. You asked me to sell you.
I asked you to sell me.
Yeah. I don't want to be a sleazy car salesman.
Yeah. Yeah. And so it just gives you an opportunity, right, to have that conversation. And then from there, you get better at it, and it's a skill. It's a skill to be able to confront. It's a skill to be able to like, hey, and like take the frame and say what needs to be said, and do it in a way that serves both you and the person who you're trying to communicate with. Because ultimately, like, letting things go under the rug and you not communicating things and like doing one of these, sure, in that moment it might seem easier, but in the long run, guess why divorces happen? Guess why people end up resenting each other? Like, how does somebody go from like truly like madly falling in love with somebody to eventually hating that person? Do you think it just happens on accident because they quote unquote fall out of love?
No.
It's such bullshit. Like, it's the thing with bullshit. It's you stop doing the freaking work, right? Love is work. Marriage is work. It is an exercise. If you fail to perform it on a daily basis, it's a skill. If you stop doing something, what's going to happen?
It's gonna fall apart.
And all relationships are built on one principle, and that's communication. Where there's no communication to be had, like what happens, like Kitty, when you had because Kitty's only had one boyfriend, and that was me. But aside, but before like WWLD, right? Before Logan lived, yeah, I think that's how it goes. Anyway, before Logan, like when you had to like talk with these people who said they were your girlfriend, but they weren't your boyfriend, like how did you break up with them? Was it like you were like texting them all the time? You're like trying to see where they're at, or was it something else?
No, I usually just stop communicating with them.
Yeah. Right. And so lacking communication is how we start to distance ourselves from somebody. And so when you're not communicating with somebody, that's just the first telltale sign that you're on the way out. That's it. So communication is the compass, one of our core values. Write that one down. Yeah. So weekly marriage meeting.
Tough conversations. And I think the most important thing is truly your marriage is the foundation of your life. So if your spouse is not on board, it's not their fault. There's something that's lacking. They don't feel like they are involved. They don't feel like they've been explained the situation. Like, get them to get on board by include them in everything, in the conversations, in the setbacks, in the vision, in everything. Like, it is truly the foundation to everything is communication, telling each other what you want in life, and making sure.
What do you
work
want in
together.
life, Katie?
I want $83,000 of passive income.
Why?
Because it sounds like I could be really. It's an ego thing, as Logan says.
Yeah.
I want to be able to do whatever I want, whenever I want, with whoever I want, wherever I want.
Yeah. Yeah. I should make you go down on that and like actually figure out your why right in front of everybody. Like, why do you want that? Like, what do you want to do that you can't do right now?
This is like we need to actually do a separate one on this, because for a long time, my goals were his goals.
Which are great goals, by the way.
They are great goals, but they are not my goals. And they don't need to be my goals. We have shared goals, absolutely. Like $83,000 of passive income is a shared goal. We both want that.
Yeah.
But the why behind our goals is different, and my personal goals are different. But for a long time, I chased.
What are some of your personal goals?
I chased your goals.
Yeah. Yeah. What are some of your goals, though?
Currently,
Share some goals.
I announced this before too, but I would love to weigh 140 pounds.
Yeah. Why?
Because I show up better as a spouse, as a mother, as a business owner.
Yeah.
Everything. Like when my nutrition is on point, it just cascades into every other aspect of my life. So when I prioritize myself, when I take care of myself, it allows me to be the best version of who I am in all facets of life.
That's awesome.
So, like, all the way back to my goals being his goals, that's not serving me. And when I don't serve myself, I don't show up as myself.
Yeah, I don't want to weigh 140 pounds.
Please don't.
Okay, I'm gonna keep you on the spot. Just give me like one more goal. So we talked about wealth goals. We talked about health goals. Give me one other goal that you want to share with our captive audience.
Yeah. This one's love-based and relationship-based, connection-based. So I have a goal in 2022 to have 12 dates with our daughters individually. So we have 2 daughters, so that's 24 dates, and 12 dates with you.
Oh, how many dates have we gone this year?
Us 0.
Oh, that's some work to do.
Laney's had 2. Kobe's had 1.
So if you guys have some good date ideas out there, Kitty needs to do 12, right? And I'm still waiting. Still waiting. Yeah, no, it's cool, right? It's cool to be able to share those goals because that's why it's important, right? It's important.